because we were the initiator, we get to look at those proposals and we have a kind of right to match. If anyone makes a proposal that's better than the one we've already made, and we can turn around and say, well, hang on, we'll match that proposal, and then we get issued a license.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Sintana Energy President Eytan Uliel. Eytan, very good to speak with you again. Let's start off with Uruguay. The exploration period for the OFF-1 block's been extended by a year. Why is that good news for the project rather than simply a delay?
Well, it's not a delay is the main point. Nothing has really changed in terms of the timeline. So the timeline of the project was always that Chevron, the operator, following their farm-in, we're going to shoot some 3D seismic, use that data to identify where they'd like to drill a well, hopefully make a positive well decision. And it was always the case that they'd look to be drilling a well in 2028. As it turns out, the process of securing environmental authorization for the 3D seismic took a bit longer than planned. And one of the outcomes of that process was the government said, look, we're happy to authorize 3D seismic going ahead, but we want a hiatus in the middle of each year to allow for the Uruguayan fishing season. So 3D seismic can't happen between April and October. As a result, Chevron divided the seismic up into 2 seasons. First season is done. Second season is going to kick off at the end of this year and will be wrapped up by about March. They'll then process it, still make a well decision, hopefully towards September of next year, and then still proceed with drilling a well as planned. We hope, obviously, as planned in 2028. The issue was that the current license period expires in September 2026. And had it just expired and Chevron opted to renew it, but without making that firm well commitment, which they're not ready to do until they've finished all the seismic, they would have had to relinquish 50% of the acreage. And they obviously didn't want to do that. So they went to the government. They said, hey, listen, we're not doing any work. We're running the seismic. The reason we couldn't finish it was because of this unexpected, hiccup. So we'd like a bit of extra time to let us finish all the work still within the broader timeline. So that's what's happened. It's an extension that allows the acreage to be completely retained while the seismic is finished fully, but still with a view to making a well decision and drilling the well as initially planned. So it's good news. It, I guess, shows that the government of Uruguay, as we've always said, is a top-class government to deal with. They're very responsive, they're very commercial, they understand what's in everyone's best interests, and it shows the commitment of Chevron. I mean, they've got on with it, they're shooting the 3D, they're going to finish that up. Even as we speak, the first season is off being processed, and as we've said a few times, we expect to see some early results from that towards the end of this year as well.
Turning to Argentina, the government's decision to launch an international tender is an important step. What does it say about the potential of the CAN 200 block, and where does Sintana fit into that process?
Yeah, so I've said it in many forums before. One of the unfortunate aspects of Uruguay is it's all fully licensed. And whilst we like it very much there, we have great assets, there's no other assets to pick up. We have been looking around the region for business development opportunities. And for various reasons, we think the CAN 200 block in Argentina is an interesting one in perspective. So a kind of a below the radar business development thing we've been working on for more than a year and a half now. So we went to the government of Argentina and we said, hey, we're interested in this block. We'd like a license. Now, Argentina has a thing called a private initiative process where you can go to the government, propose a license. After they've thought about it, in this case, thought about it for a while, they can issue a decree that says we agree this area is worthy of a license, and now there's an international tender. Anyone can come along and make a proposal. So that's what's happened. One of the things, though, is that if you are the party who initiated the private initiative process, you have a preferred position. What that means is anybody else is now free within a reasonably short time frame that the government is yet to publish. Anyone is now free to come along and make a proposal. But because we were the initiator, we get to look at those proposals and we have a kind of right to match. If anyone makes a proposal that's better than the one we've already made, and we can turn around and say, well, hang on, we'll match that proposal, and then we get issued a license. So we're, I guess, in as good a position as we can be. It is a tender process. It is competitive. Who knows who's going to be interested and what will happen? But we at least have a preferred position for what we think is a very interesting block technically.
I mean, looking across your Latin American portfolio, how do Uruguay and Argentina complement your broader exploration strategy? And what excites you most about the opportunities ahead?
Well, our strategy is as it always has been. We do what small, independent, entrepreneurially minded exploration companies do. We go out there, we find the assets, we get in early, we do the early technical work, we prove up the value, and then we look to bring in the big partners. That's what's exciting about Argentina. As I said, who knows how it'll turn out, but we've kind of got ourselves into position there almost under the noses of everybody else. Uruguay, we got in there early. We have two blocks. One we farmed out to Chevron that we spoke about at the beginning. Area off three, we still have 100%. We're in the middle of the farm out process there. It's taken a bit longer than we would like, but that's because there's so much activity in Uruguay. Every week, someone else is farming in. The two blocks adjacent to off three now have QatarEnergy in them. Chevron farmed into one of those as well. So every week almost the conversations we're having about off three change. But there is a great block that we really have high hopes for. And by the end of this year, certainly we hope to have farmed that out. So this all fits within our broader strategy. And of course, those who now follow the company since Sintana acquired Challenger Energy will know that we also have a whole portfolio of stuff in Namibia and a small asset in Angola. And there's oodles of things happening there as well. So across both sides of the Atlantic margin, we see lots of activity over the next 6 to 12 months, lots of news flow from the company, lots of value creation, but all very consistent with our core business model, which is small amounts of capital that buy exposure to very big potential outcomes, and where most of the capital risk is borne by our much larger partners who we bring in over time. So very exciting time over the next 12 months or so.
We look forward to chatting with you as that news flow materializes. Thank you very much for your time today.
Great. Thanks for your time. Bye.
Eytan Uliel, the president of Sintana Energy.